Hello, good morning, lovely people. I mean, if you're joining in from the IST zone, good morning. For those of you waking up at 12 p.m. And for everyone else, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever it is in your time zone. Welcome to this interesting stream that we are hosting today. But before we move on, hello everyone, hello. The chat room is buzzing with comments. I love to see the spirit right after I've had my cup of coffee, which I did. I'm all charged up to host this stream. Now, I have two very important questions for you. Everyone, listen up. Very important. First, are you wearing your MLH Ducky t-shirts for this selfie challenge today? If not, just go ahead and wear it because we have to click a selfie and also submit the selfie on the form, so that we earn ourselves a point. So that's very important news in case you've missed that. So yes, you are ready. I am glad to see that folks are still ready. And if you don't have a t-shirt, don't worry, you'll get it soon. You're participating in MLH events. You'll get your t-shirt real soon. All right. So yes, good morning, afternoon, evening, night. Everyone just join in, gather around because we are here to create a health app today. Fitness and health, it's one of the most important things that we have seen, that you should take care of your health. But considering in this lockdown, I think that not everybody has been that healthy. So that's why this stream. So we're going to build a health app today. But before that, there is the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about. What is the thing that we do first before we start any stream? Come on, chat room. You already know it by now. Help me out here a little. Yes, we register and we check in. So this today, the link for checking in is hackp.ac/health app. It's that easy. So just visit to hackp.ac/health app and check in and register for this event before doing anything. Just drop everything right now. Just go ahead, visit this link and check in, register and check in. Cool. So once you do it, make sure that you are registered and checked in. You have joined the Discord. You are in your guild. And if you're not registered for Local Hack Day Share yet, I mean, you should have done this by now because it's already day 2 and I'm super excited for it. So if you've not done it yet, just go ahead and visit hackp.ac/NHT share And you can also register and check in for the entire event. We have week-long challenges, we have daily challenges, we have so many interesting events planned for you. And I want you to not miss any of those. So just go ahead, check in, register, get up all the updates that you need, and prepare for this amazing ride of local hack day share that we've created for you all. All right. Yes, of course. I will add the check-in link in the description as well. Let me add it. All right. The link is up. So just visit this link and register. I will also register and check in with you. I've seen a lot of folks just do it like alongside me, so I'm not checked in yet, which is very unlikely because I always register and check in before my event. That's what I do. You should all practice this as well. It's awesome. It's great. All right, no worries. Yes, I will share my screen. One second, everyone. Before we move on, let's register and check in. So as soon as you visit the link that was mentioned in the comment section, that's hackp.ace/health app. It's also up on screen, so if in case you missed that. And as soon as you visit this link, this is the mirroring. This is the screen that you'll see. It's an organized MLH page, and if you can't see, if you just see right there at the top, this corner, just right there up on screen, you'll see a big blue register and check-in button. Do you see it? Yes. All you need to do is click on this register and check-in button, and it'll turn green, which means that you are registered and you are checked in for the event. Yay, awesome. Once you are checked in, come back to the comment section, just rush right back in and let me know that you are registered and checked in, and we're all set to move forward. Hey Jack, thank you so much for joining in. So Jack is here in the comment section. Let's get some love in for Jack. Let's get some hype in the comment section. All right. Yes, I did share it. It is login and register for you. Don't worry. Just log in and register, Yeti. Wonderful. Awesome. I'm glad to see that everyone is done. Great. So since you are all checked in, let me just remove this from my screen and stop the screen share. All right. So wonderful. Love to see it. Great. Already done and checked in. So if you're not yet, if the email is already taken, that means that you have to register, like sign into your account and then check in. I think that should work. If not, make a new account. It's all good. Just make sure that you're using the same account while registering yourself on DevPost or otherwhere else, so that your points are calculated together. That's all. That's all the thing that you need to take care of while registering and checking in. But rest, everything is great. So, all right. Yes, of course. So I'm glad to see that everyone is done and we're all checked in for this particular event. So if folks are still joining in right now, the only thing that we did, just don't worry about it. Just don't worry about missing out on something. The only thing that we did was check in on this link. We're gonna start soon. So first, go ahead and visit this link and check in if you're joining in just now. Everyone in the comment section is almost done. So it's just you who's left, who just joined in. Like I saw the numbers bump up. So you just join in, visit this link, register for the event, and then we'll move on. All right. So meanwhile, you are working on this. How is everyone doing? How's local hack day share for everyone? I see that you all are pumped up. I can see the chat room, the Discord brimming with so many messages. I mean, you're so invested in all of these challenges, and I absolutely love to see it. Incredible. So tell me, how is it going for you all? What is the Hajj Gang rocks? Absolutely. All the way till the end, the Hajj Gang. Hajj Gang and Melon Spot. I mean, sometimes I think I miss that, but again, it's both of them together. Sam is bunking my class down. Believe it or not, Sam, even I am. So I'm up on stream and I have a class starting in about 15 minutes. But who cares? We have to create a health app today. It's local hack day share. We can't miss even a single minute of it. I mean, oh my goodness. Oh, this is your first LHD, Vishal. Okay, all right. Okay, the comment section is brimming. I just can't even get hold of a comment. All right, so this is Vishal's first LSG. Let's get some love in for him. Welcome, Vishal. We are super excited to have you all here. So anyone who's joining in for the first time, Local Hack Day is a great event. And if you're joining us for the first time up on stream, I'll introduce myself as well. My name is Sashruka Kaur, and I am a Major League Hacking Coach for the APAC region. I also work as a hackathon product specialist, which means all the hosted by MLH events that you see. Basically, last weekend we had Hue hacks. This weekend we are having surprise hacks. Next weekend we are having hack from the past. So all of these, I'm just kind of help setting up for that and making sure that your experience is delivered. If something goes wrong, Brian is to blame. If everything goes right, I get all the appreciation. Best job in the world. All right. Yes, I can see a lot of folks are bunking classes. I mean, this is not good practice. I mean, I am obliged to say that this is not good practice, but even I'm doing that, so who cares? Wow. Yes, all right. So I'll give a shout out to other guilds as well. Eddie Hub is also here with us. What about the memes? Yes, of course. I mean, we're here for the memes and trolls too, right? Yesterday we did an entire local hack day no light event, which was all about the memes. Like nothing. I mean, I don't think that we did learn something out of it, even though we were trying to learn HTML and CSS. All we did was troll and make memes. Wonderful. Yes, of course. A few more shout outs. We have CodeCrypt, Technocrats, and DSC joining us. Source code is also here. Love to see it. Love to see it. Awesome. So since all of you folks are checked in, and if you're not, just this is the check-in. So check in now at hackp.ac/health app. We're gonna create that right now in a couple more seconds. I just want to check in with everyone. See, it's been so great to see you all hang out in the Discord, and I've seen more coffee chats scheduled in this one day than I've ever seen before in the Discord, in the MLS Discord. I'm super excited to see you all participate so well in the community. So to answer your question, will we use Android Studio? I think that's what you're asking. Yes, we will be using Android Studio. So if you don't have it downloaded yet, just put it on download. It might take a few minutes, like I'm not saying one or two. Yeah, it might take a couple of minutes, like some time for it to download and set up. And once you create your first app, that might also take some time. So if you're just starting out, don't worry, put it on download, follow along with the session. After this session, the stream ends, this session would be live on Avalanche Twitch channel, YouTube, and I think Facebook as well. So all of these free segments, and you can revisit this again and build it again if your application is not downloaded up until then. So don't worry about it, but just get started. The first step is to actually get started and take that leap. Rest everything would fall into place. And if you have any questions even after the stream, feel free to reach out to me. All right. And I love to see that some of the folks are already set up. Super excited to see that, Jonathan, hats off. That's how you should be. Already set up for the event. Another interesting question, Java and Kotlin. Today I'll be using Kotlin because I kind of like that language a lot because of its various perks, such as me writing less code. I'm lazy. I'm a little lazy. I mean, you kind of should know that by now. But if not, I mean, you can also code in Java. It's pretty easy. So if you're coding in Kotlin, I'll explain what happens in the code. And basically, once we're coding in Kotlin and you want to code in Java, it's simple and easy for you. It's like it's not a big deal. You can do that. Kotlin over Java. Yes, actually, I also love this. Love this one. Love this thought. All set for it. Absolutely love the enthusiasm. So if you don't know Kotlin, just don't worry. You can code in Java. The only thing that you need to do is whatever I type out or whatever I'm coding in Kotlin, all you need is to just check what is the syntax for Java and just translate it. I mean, it's practically simple. So I'm not sure if Android Studio still has that functionality. But once I coded, when I transitioned from coding from Java to Kotlin, I didn't know Kotlin in the first go. So what I did was whenever I could find a Java code up online and I used that code and typed it down in a Kotlin application, it will tell me to, just shift it to it. So it automatically writes the code for you. If you write it in Java, it'll convert it into Kotlin for you if you select that option. I'm not sure if it works vice versa, but I know it goes from Java to Kotlin. Okay, yes, so again, Johansson actually said the same thing. So we can convert from Java to Kotlin and vice versa. You can use that. Yes, Gradle is what's going to trouble you the most. So for those of you folks who are just joining in and don't know anything about Android Studio or breaking Android applications. Gradle is where we used to install our libraries. I mean, something you need to know about that. We can go into detail a bit more because it's so much more than that. But mostly you'll be using it for this if you want to include something in your code. I mean, you first implement it, add a plugin, that sort of things. So whenever that happens, Gradle actually downloads all your files. So if you're building an application for the first time, it's going to download all your files, and that's going to take a little while. So don't get worried if it's like taking too long. It depends on device to device or how much time it takes, but it does take a little time. So don't just freak out and worry about it. Everything would be fine. We're here with you. We'll support you. The comment section, it will absolutely support you if you're stuck somewhere. So just don't worry about it. We're a really friendly community here. I mean, we go up live every day. We play games. We have fun, and we also create something amazing. So we're a bunch of great people. You would like hanging out with us, is what I'd say. Okay. Wow. All right. Okay, your name is Johan. Got it. Yes, I had a like very big username, so I was not sure. Thanks for the clarification. I see. All right. So to create this health app, I mean, you can include tons of features while creating health app, right? So you can create a step counter, which we're going to do today. But on top of that, you can also have like say a recipes database, or probably something which would help you keep track of your health. Your heart rate checkup. If you just add information and check. If you want to, get access to nearby medical centers where you can visit and get your full health checkup done. There are tons of things that you can do with this particular challenge. We're gonna keep it simple. We're gonna keep it basic. So if you've not ever used Android before, even then it'll be totally fine. All you need to install is Android Studio and have Java installed, a JDK environment installed in your computer. I hope that is already done. If not, that is, I think, probably the prerequisite for this workshop. So you can come back and rewatch it later if you want. And right now, just follow along to see what the discussion is all about. What are we going to do today? What are we building? And how we actually go about creating that. So I am truly a fan of the Android developer docs, which I think are really helpful for you to get started. That's how I got started. So if you want, you can visit that and you can all check. So glad to see that you are all set. Everyone, if you're all set, all hyped up, let's get some hype up in the comment section, and then we'll start real quick. It's almost time. I gave you all some time to register and check in and get pumped up and then settle down. If you're not registered yet and joining in just now, the link is there in the comment section. We'll post the link once more. It's hackp.ac/health app. Visit that link and register and check in yourself. Make sure you do so before you begin with this workshop and earn yourself some great LHD points to make it to the top of the leaderboard. I'm pretty sure that someone who's watching the stream would definitely be on top of the leaderboard because they're so, on top of all things. I absolutely love to see that enthusiasm. Okay, so Rice Name wants us to wait for 2 more minutes, and we'll give you that. We'll wait for a couple more minutes and we'll chit-chat a little bit, and we'll talk about what we're going to create today. Ready, set, go. I am absolutely stunned to see your enthusiasm. Love you guys. All right. So, okay, another ready, set, go. All set. I'm on top right now. 10 minutes is like a huge time. Okay, you need to just step up your game. Be quick about it. I'll give you a couple more minutes, but be quick about it. Drum rolls, please. We're going to start creating a health counter. Yes, we can also have a counter to keep track of the glasses of water you drink. It's really important to be hydrated. Okay, awesome. So everyone is all set. I can see that you all are all set and, in your places, and you've all installed Android Studio. If it's just installing, don't worry. We'll talk about what we're going to build today, and just get that installed, and we work on it together. Don't worry about it. Just follow along this workshop, this entire session, and we'll start coding in just a few minutes. All right. So the first things first. Now we're gonna create a step counter, right? For this health app. Very simple, very easy. So I'm gonna just show you how to create that and how to build that. But before we do that, we need to get our research in, right? So what it is that we need to create a health app? It's a very simple question. So to create a health app with a step counter, what we're going to utilize is we're going to utilize the phone's sensors, right? Everyone, Following along, we're going to utilize the phone's sensors. So once you're moving and your phone is moving, it actually senses that movement and then update the counter. Am I right? Yes. So we need to figure out what we can use, like what it is, what functionality is available with Android Studio, which library we can use, what is it that we can use to actually create this application and use that sensor for our application, right? So we will use, so I'm going to tell you what we're going to use, and then I'm going to show you how you can know more about it. You are all facing Android Studio and Gradle errors. I mean, this is something that you can fix. It's not a Gradle problem. Just rebuild that application, restart your Android Studio by invalidating the cache. There should be an option for that, and it should work fine. If you're in Android Studio, just install and you're facing this error. It's basically your files were not downloaded completely. Cool. So since you're working on that, I mean, no Gradle or Android Studio errors for now, because we're going to work on the application real quick. If you have those errors, ping me later in Discord and we're going to solve them together. Sounds good, everyone? We're going to focus on the code and we're going to focus on how to build that application. Gradle issues are something we can solve even after the stream. Don't worry about it. All right? Cool. Everyone, excited for this? Cool. Let me just quickly share my screen and show you something about sensor managers, which we're going to use today. So once you're creating a health app and you're working your way, we're working your way through the Android application, this is something that we actually need to create. So these are the Android developer docs, which I refer to. These are absolutely amazing. Let me add it to the stream. Yes. All right. So these are, let me just zoom in quite a bit. So these are the Android developer docs. You can find this up online. They have tons of information available on how to write code, how to get started. They also have code labs for you. So if you're just getting started with Android, don't worry at all. They have code labs for you to actually do this process step by step and explain what is happening, where it is happening, what changes you need to make in order to understand your code. And it's super simple and easy for you to get started. See, it's that simple. So those of you folks, I see the numbers bump up a little. That's why I'm saying. So those of you folks who are joining in just now, we're getting started with Sensor Manager. We're talking about how we'll use this to create a step counter. If you have not already checked in, check in now at hackp.ac/health app. All right, cool. So everyone is all set up. We're going to talk about Sensor Manager. So all you need to do is bring up this doc, and it has all the information you need to actually add your code to your Android application and then create an app. Yes, Rice Flame also shared the link to check in if you want to need it in the comment section. All right. This doc, yes, of course, I can share the link for this doc as well. This is the Sensor Manager, and I'm posting the link in the comment section. So everyone, you can open up this page. This has tons of information and material for you to know what. Okay, everybody just shared the same link. Great, awesome. All right, so this is tons of information basically about the Sensor Manager, which we're going to use. It has the code that you need to write, functions that you need to implement while using Sensor Manager. And you also have information about, what all functions are present, which all variables you can make use of, what all basically you can do with the Sensor Manager, and how many sensors are present in this, right? So let's see what is here on this screen. So for example, we are using a hardware, and to do that, we actually implement sensor event listeners. So again, this is Java code. So for those of you who wanted the Java code, this is what your Java code structure would look like. We'll obviously edit this to make it more suitable for us, because right now, as you can see, they're using the type accelerometer. We don't need an accelerometer. We need a step counter, right? So you're gonna update this code, and we're gonna make it. We're gonna actually type it down and use it for our own self. But for now, this is what your general structure would look like. See, it was that easy. What I did was did a little research, found out what Sensor Manager is, how you can create that application, and then I found out some link in the docs to see what code I need to actually write and implement this application. Very simple. So this is some of the functions. We'll talk about all of these functions in detail, but you can see you have sensor event listener, sensor events. They also talk about what amazing variables that they have set in place for you. So it has practically everything that you need. So any data that you have, any delay that you want. So we're going to use a lot of things from this. You can actually make it more, custom for you. And you can also add any other variable that you want to. So there are public methods available. There are variables available that you can use and send in as arguments. There are tons of things available. You can revisit this doc later. I'm gonna stop my screen share here. I'm gonna bring up my Android application and then we're gonna code together. So we're gonna step right in and things are gonna move pretty fast right now. So everyone, settle right in, grab a cup of coffee if you want to, and we're gonna start coding. So this is just a brief about what we're gonna do, how we're gonna use it, and then we move on to writing some code and getting some and get some things set up just right in. All right, hello everyone. Okay, let me just quickly share my screen one more time and then we can just start with the application. So let me know everyone if you can see my screen. Is it visible? I actually increased the font letter so it's visible for you all. So if it is, we'll get started with this. Right. Yep. All right. If it is visible, yeah, awesome. Glad to see it. Love to see it. All right. So the only thing that I did in this application right now is just click on File. I'll show you. I mean, it's basically the start of your application. So if you're starting out, your Android Studio page would open up and you can just click on new project. This is a pop-up window that would just come up. I'm not sure if you can see the pop-up window because I just shared one of my screen. And in that pop-up window, you select empty activity and click on next. Add in your application name, select your language preference. For me, it was Kotlin. For you, it might be Java. Select the minimum API that you want and then move on to click the finish button, and that's when it will create your application. If you are doing this for the very first time after installing Android Studio, don't worry, it will take some time because then it's installing all the libraries and downloading all your downloading everything for the first time, and that is why it'll take some time. So don't worry about it. Your application would be perfectly fine. Nothing would happen to you. It's just gonna take some time for you to get started. Don't worry about it. Let it run. Let it do its own job. And once you see this page. So what you see in your project structure, let's talk about the structure for a little bit and then we'll move on to write some code. All right, friends. So this is what your app looks like. So I've created a health app, as you can see. And you can also see that in the Java folder, you have your main activity present, which is a Kotlin activity, as you can see. And this is the resource folder that you have. In resource, when you go under layout, this is your activity. The main activity is basically your app design, how it looks, what it looks like, how it's basically what your UI looks like is what this would contain. So you write your XML code here and you can see the preview. So as you can see, the only thing that you have here, it's a Hello World application at first. And Hello World application, all you can see here is, in this Hello World application, you can see that only a text of Hello World is present, right? Everyone following along? Yes, it's an empty activity. The project template you would use is an empty activity because we only need the Hello World. We're gonna edit everything on our own and build everything from scratch, so don't worry about it. Kotlin. I'm using Kotlin. If you can use that, if you want to learn more about it, you can choose Kotlin. You can also write it in Java. You just need to change the syntax a bit. All right, everyone following along? Are you all done with this step? Is your application page ready? So I'm going to move on and write some code here and make changes to it. Awesome. Glad to see it. All right. Okay, I'm going to give you all another minute to get settled right in. And give you a minute for, if you're installing for the first time, give you a little head start there. But once this particular segment is ready, okay, we have another question, which is the minimum SDK one. Yes, you can select, let's say API 16, which is like 4.1. It basically covers everything. There's also a percentage down below, which you can see what is it. Still installing. Yes. So most of them is ready and everybody's done. So let's move on to write some code. Now, this is the interesting part, friends. Stay tuned and we're gonna build this app in no time. It's very simple, and once you get the hang of it, you will just absolutely love this because you can do so much with the sensor application. I'll give you an idea. So once what I did was, with this accelerometer sensor application, I created a disco themed application. So what I did was, with that sensor value that you get, I actually added a few more colors to it. So whenever you tilt your mobile like this and this, it will just change colors, and it was super interesting. It was just a fun application that I built to try the sensors out, and I think you can try it too. So step counter is another application, same way. You can use it to start, get started with Android and start learning it. All right, if someone is joining in just now, just check it the link hackp.ac/health and head back over to Twitch and follow along with us. All right. You were expecting dark theme. I like this theme. I tried the dark theme. I was just not too big a fan of it, so I'm good. I'll prefer the light theme. If you want dark theme, please go ahead, take at it. I just like the colors here better. that's all it is. Wow. All right. Let's see what we have here. Okay. So we've already started with the main activity, right? So I just explained the project structure right now. So you can find the activity main in the layout, which is a resource file. A resource file is basically your UI. So if you want your assets, your your UI pages, your values, your if you want to add something else, any asset that you want to add, images, GIFs, anything like that, vector images. So all of this is in the resource folder, and the main activity in the Java file is where you write your actual code, right? The Kotlin code, which would make. So it's basically, for those of you folks who are into web development, I basically related that, you kind of use HTML, CSS sometimes for your front end, and then you use JavaScript to actually add functionality to those buttons and everything. That's basically somewhat similar to it, not exactly same, but somewhat similar to the fact that an activity main, you're creating your layout, and in your main activity.kotlin file, this one, you're actually writing the code to actually add functionality to it, right? Oh, now just don't stop talking about the themes. We're not here to talk about dark theme or light theme, right? Comment section, come on. What are you doing, friends? What are you doing? We're here to build a health app, and you're talking about dark theme and light theme. I mean, I sometimes think that you, instead of learning something new, you're already focused on trolling, memeing, and dark themes. Come on, let's talk about this. All right. Okay, so now that part. Great. Yes, so it'll take some time. Don't worry if your activity is taking a lot of time to load. It's just downloading your Gradle files, and that's why it's taking a lot of time. Actually, Android Studio takes up a lot of your RAM. That is the reason that it's acting a little slow. So just give it some time. It'll all be fine. Don't worry. Okay. All right. So yes. Okay. Let me just remove this banner real quick so that you can see everything that I write clearly, and the screen is entirely visible. Okay. All right, wonderful. Great, awesome. Okay, all right. So back here, let's move on and start with the activity main first. So as you can see, there is a constraint layout there. Let me just quickly get rid of this project structure. So if you still need to get access to the project structure, all you need to do is click on this button, and it'll show you what your project structure looks like, and you can just browse around and see what other pages are present. This is your Gradle script section, which you'll use to add libraries, functions. We're not going to use this for the purpose of this workshop, for the purpose of this session and this challenge, but you can obviously use it to add more things, right? All right, so let's talk about your activity main file. Now, this is where you create your layout. As you can see, on the right hand side, you already have a hello world layout present, right? So this is the android.txt, which if you change, you can actually see it get updated right here. As you can see, it's now simple edge, and I'll just write hello friends, and you can see it update. You can see it update on the right hand side, right? So this is how the layout text can change. Yes, you can also get some coffee right in. All of you sit down. I'm just going to go back and forth the screen and the comment section so that I'm all on top of questions if you do have any. All right, coming back up. Cool. So as you can see, this is very simple. So there are a couple of things that you need to take care of here. When you're creating a text view, it is basically if you want to add text to your applications, the simplest type of view. So this hello friends message that you just added, it's a text view. If you want to take input from the user, you will use the edit text symbol. So there are tons of things that you can use, and you'll probably browse it once you're creating those apps. For the purpose of this session, we're just going to use text view, and the layout we're going to use is constraint layout. The reason that we're using a constraint layout is because we want to, actually define where we want our application to be. Yes, if you can only see the design view, there is a button right up on top of the screen which is called code, right beside design. You can click on that. Yes, Shrey, thanks for helping out, friend. All right. Okay, so as you can see, this is the text view that we're talking about, and we're talking about the constraint layout, which the reason that we want it is because we want to fit all our elements on the screen, and we don't want the screen to break if it's shifting from, one application to another application. For example, you're watching it in Pixel 3 and it's looking like something else, and if you just switched to a different Android phone or different Android version with different screen size, it'll just mess it all up. So we don't want that. That's why we're using constraint layout. So this is what your code would look like when you start with the application, and we're going to make some changes to it. So the first thing that we want is our text view to have steps. So we want to update the steps. So let's say our text view now has steps mentioned. The other thing that we want here is, another thing that I want to talk about first is wrap content. So what wrap content means, like, the layout would take as much space as we allot it to. So for example, the layout width and layout height would means that the only place it requires, for example, steps require the space in middle, this one. So it'll cover only that space. It will not cover the entire layout. It will not cover the entire content. Wrap content is basically this. If you use match parent, it will basically match you to the entire parent, which is something which you see here. So there's a difference. If you want to go more detail and more depth to it, you can always find out more online. But this is something that you can see. All right. Okay. Yes, I can also show you the blueprint view to actually ensure that you are on top of this. So as you can see, this is what your design looks like. This is the first view that you have, the hello world in between, the steps one, right? Okay, coming back to the code. I think I just added it. Yeah, all right. So this is what it should look like. Now let's just add a couple more things to this activity so that, you can see all those changes. First off, I want to add the layout margins, right? First one, I want to add some margins, and then I want to increase my text size. So let's say we want our text size. So you just start typing and you can see all the functions that are present. It's literally that. Thanks to this wonderful autocomplete feature, I don't have to remember anything else. All I need to do is actually start typing, see what function, what element attribute is present, and then use it. So let's say I want that to be 50 SP. So there are SP, DP, there are other different types of basically relative layout that you can use. So these are all, you can find more about it online because there's SP, DP, and a bunch of other types of layouts that you can use, or basically to define what size it is, right? So we have the sets, we have the text size. Now let's add some margins to it so that it does not break, or gives a little edge, gives a little support to it. So we want our margin. So we have, okay, sorry. Yes, we have tons of margins that we can add. So let's say we want to add the end margin. Yes, the layout margin end. Now we want this to be, now we can try and figure it out, but right now I'm just going to do a random ADP. You can add something else. So right now it's in between. That is why it's like that. All right, it's showing a little bit error. Let me see. Okay, this is very strange. Oh yeah, so it actually you not only write margin n, so that's the error it was actually mentioning about. So we also need an error margin right. But for the error margin right, if I don't want the same thing, I can just add something else. So you can add right margin, end margin, also start and top margin, which I want. So I'm gonna add the start margin as well, similar way. And then I'm going to add another one, which is basically your top margin. So that's just all set up. Margin top. And this one would be, so I still need 108 dp to actually settle down and bring it to the top. So I'm going to do that. And let's see if we can remove the Android right, or if it still needs it. Because this is something I was not adding, but it added it and I didn't mind at all. Yep, I think it's cool. Yes, so you can have to add start, top, and end. You cannot just add only end to the margin. This is something we just we were figuring out while we were writing the code. So again, the text view, we want to wrap content it. We had added the steps, we've added the margins, we've added the text size, and we have made it to to be in with the to add constraints to it with the parent. So the next thing that is the most important thing that you have to add to every Android to every this activity element that you create. Basically, most of it is for if you want to add some functionality to it in the main Kotlin file. So if you want to access it in the main activity.kd, the Kotlin file, this one, then every element here needs an ID. So we're going to create that ID, and this is what your ID syntax would look like. Now we're going to create that ID. So let's call it steps, right? Very simple. Or this is like the step label. So we call it steps label. Right, everyone, are you following along? If any of this part is still confusing, let me know and I'll repeat some of it. Because right now all I did was create this text view in a way that I want it to be. Yes, units of measures, all these SPDP basically are units of measure, and that is how it works. Or still, everyone still. So where can you find the activity main file? The activity main file is in the resource folder. Then you go on layout and then you find your activity file. All right, following along on top of all the comments. And why are you creating ID? Good question. I'll just prove it to you that why this ID is important. So you have created an ID here. Let's say you want to access this text view and make it into a button or something. So if you want to access that, you want this to, you want to access that in the Kotlin file, the main Kotlin file. And that is why you need a label to identify which element we are talking about, right? Awesome. All right, so everyone is ready with this section. All right, so let's say we want another one of our text view, which is actually we need the steps to be placed. So let's just copy this entire bit and we're going to make changes to it to make our work easier. Yes, it's going to show an error because you cannot use the same ID for two elements. So for this one, I'm just going to call it steps, or let's say steps value. Correct? Right. So we have the steps label and we have the steps value. So this particular one would also be wrap content, and we don't need it to be steps. We need another one to be a 0 right here. So as you can see, it's still, overlapping a bit. So we don't need to fix that. And in order to do so, we want our margins to be up to date. So this margin from the top, let's reduce this a little bit so that it reduces the padding. So as you can see, there is still a little difference, but not the best difference that you can see. And the text size is also too big. We need this text size to be a little smaller than this. So let's just say it's 35. I mean, you can play around with the stuff. So it's just what you want and how you want to achieve it. So this looks a little better, but still, we would want our steps to be on top, and we want this to be at the bottom of steps instead. So in order to do that, instead of like remove this parent, which is like the actual parent, this one, as you can see, we want this to be below the steps segment. So we want it to have, we use that ID for steps we created, the steps label ID. So you're just going to use that and we're going to see what happens next. So as you can see, it's at the first thing that we did was introduce it to the bottom of steps label. And then it's going to just start and right off. Let's just remove left off, I think. It should do the trick. Yeah, instead of doing the left off thing, let's just add it to the start off. Basically, you have to play around. This comes with a lot of practice when you just go and edit those steps. Let's say just remove this. I think I broke it. Sorry. All right, let's try to the end of parent. So we want it to be to the end of parent, to the start of parent, and we want it to be bottom of steps label. So we want it to be center aligned in as well. So let's just add that alignment. Okay. Layout gravity. Center. Let's see if it's fixed. Let's use layout gravity instead. Layout gravity. Okay. I don't have access to layout gravity for this one, probably because of the constraint layout bit. Yes, we can obviously use another layout, but it's basically just playing around with the stuff until you just have what you need, or probably you want to Google it and see what is the one thing. Basically, it's generally just one attribute that you're missing, and we're writing it down, that's when it makes most of the changes. So let's see what I've missed. I have added the ID, layout, the width and the height is fine. The text is fine. We have the margins set up already. This is just so that it's not on basically end of everything. So, oh, I see. It's like bottom to the bottom of that we've done. This is, we actually edited this one, right? So it's like left to the start of, which is no sense. Start to the start of parent, and then we want it to be end to the end of parent. So basically what I wanted was to have it just actually be in the center of things, but we wanted my steps to be above the zero counter that I have, right? So I'm gonna try something else. So we did start to start off, end to the end of. The other thing that I want to do is not bottom to the bottom of. Instead, I want it to be top to the bottom of. So I want the steps to be up, and then I want it to be the bottom of. So it's like that. Let's just what we can do is reduce the margins from the top. Let's see, so we did 18, and then we're gonna add a good reduced margin top. Yeah, I think this seems a little bit better. So let's just focus on the main activity now. It's like it's not completely centered line to the parent activity. I think we can. So if some of these things are not improving, and this is what you can see, all you can do, what you can do is go to the design segment and then actually move it yourself. So it's pretty simple. So as you can see, this is what it looks like. Oops. As you can see, this is what it looks like. So I just want to, yeah, increase it up and then just align it where I want. It'll automatically add the various attributes that it actually needed. So again, you can play around with the code if you want to, or you just add that. So as you can see, this horizontal bias gets added in, and then here, oh, there's no change here. So this is the only thing that was missing. And if you, in case you missed something out, you just add it to it. And it also added a margin top, which was not there earlier. So it's going to make it changes something according to a vertical bias or horizontal bias to give it that segment. You can obviously change it around and try it. It did work perfectly. Wonderful. Awesome, 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 awesome. All right, love to see it. If it worked, wonderful. It worked for me as well. I made a few changes and it's working fine. So let's just quickly come to the Kotlin activity, because this is a segment which actually will make a lot of changes to, and we'll use all those elements that we created. So that was the layout. That's how your application would actually look like. You can obviously add colors to it, change the background, add an image if you want. I personally use Picasso for images, which is an interesting library. You might want to check that out, but it's totally your call what you want to do with it. All right. If you can't find the main activity main file, it's under project. Then you go to the under app, you go to the resource folder, then layout, and then you find it. Cool. All right. Okay. All right. Coming back up, comment section. You have to wait for a bit. Okay. So keep on typing if you have any questions in between. I'll just check in with you once in a while to see if we're on top of everything. And if folks, if you see a question that you know the answer to, and if I'm not responding, that means I'm just not at the comment section. So just go right there, help someone out, and if not, I'll be right there with you to help you out in a while. Cool. All right. So there's a couple of things that we have to achieve right here, right? We want to use those values and update our sensors, and we're going to use sensor manager for this one. So first, let's add a sensor event listener to it. So you can use control and space to actually get these autocomplete features. So we need a sensor event listener, right? And this is what adds. So as you can see, there's an error in activity, which means that all the 4 functions that we just saw, on pause, on resume, we need to, work through that. So just do and control enter and implement members. So we have on accuracy change, on sensor change, and let's add that. Cool. So these are the 2 functions that are absolutely necessary when you add a sensor event listener, which is on accuracy changed or on sensor change. So we just implement this for now, but we're gonna make changes to it later. Everyone, did you follow along? The only thing that I did was add sensor event listener there, which I auto completed it, and since my main activity was showing error, I just added the members that were necessary. Cool. Everyone, are you following along? On top of things, I'm at the comment section. If you have any questions, now is the time to ask. And if you have any further doubts or if you're stuck somewhere, please go ahead and do so. If not, let me know if you are all good in the comment section, and then we'll move on real quick. Yes, of course, I can repeat it for you. So all I did was, do you see this sensor event listener on the screen, like implemented by main activity? So in Kotlin, once you don't like implements, you don't use the word keyword implements. What you do is you have a colon in between, and then you actually write this later. Do you get the codes later? I can add it to my GitHub, and then you'll have access to it. So the activity loading for 5 minutes, it's not your activity that is loading, your Graded build is not finished, maybe. And that is why you just don't see any updates. Don't worry if your application has just got installed. You can absolutely view all of this later, but just be here present to actually understand the code so you can do it on your own. Don't worry if the installation is taking a lot of time. The installation does not matter. What matters is you understand how it's built. Yes, if it's showing error, use alt and enter. I think I used alt and enter, and then I can see what error it is, and then we use it. If sensor event listener is not is showing error, control alt and enter. So as you can see, there is an imported file right there. So it's an Android hardware sensor event listener which is also imported. So if that's not imported, add it to your list. If you're unable to add those sensor class, that means that when you add sensor event listener, you've not imported the sensor event file, which is android.hardware.sensor event listener, which you can add. So yes, Leo absolutely shared the imports that you need to add. You need to add all these imports there if you're still facing issues. Or you can use the alt shift enter to implement the methods. Avayan, look at us helping each other out. So since we are all on top of these queries and we're done with that, let's just quickly move on to the next segment. Now, you've already implemented the sensor event listener. What we need here is we need to implement other functions, and we also need to take care of the fact. Let me just quickly shift this a bit. Yeah, we also need to take care of the fact that we are on top of things with the variables and everything. So the other things that you need, so this onCreate class in Android is basically your first function. Whenever your activity is created, this function runs, and then other functions, you can also implement other functions. Let's say you have on resume and on pause, which is absolutely necessary. Do you remember that when we were actually looking at the docs, we saw that there were 4 functions: on accuracy change, on sensor change, on resume, and on pause. I'll tell you why these functions are important. First, let me implement those. We have on resume and you have on pause. Right? So you have on resume, you have on pause. And as you can see, as soon as I implement it, it just calls the super class. Super class is basically the class from which it is implemented, which is in this case is app compact, activity, and sensor event listener. Cool? All right. So our functions are set up. All we need to do is populate them with code, actually add a few lines of code, and then we can see all of this working. Yes, this is the app lifecycle functions. So the reason that it's necessary for you to add sensor event listener in resume and pause, because if it resumes and if it pauses, you need to unregister your. So let's say if it pauses or your application is shut down, you need to unregister your listener. Stop your listener from listening to sensors. Otherwise, your application would drain the your device's battery by a lot, because your sensor is always working. See, you have to activate your sensor and deactivate it once you close your application. Cool? Yes. Awesome. It's all right. It's all right. Don't stress out. If you have any questions, please ask. So I'm here to answer them all. But we're going to move on ahead and we're going to work our way through the code, right? Cool. Awesome. So there are a couple of things that we need before we move on next. First, we will create a few variables. So we have our running variable here, which would be false, set to false. And we also have a variable, which is our sensor manager, which would be, let's say, this is something we need a sensor manager. We need to activate it a little later. So we'll set it to null, but we also need to define what it is. So we just go ahead and use our sensor manager. So you remember I just told you about the sensor manager. You saw the doc right at the beginning of the session. This is what we're going to use today. We have a sensor manager. If we have it, it's fine. If not, we just set it to null. We'll just redefine it later. All right. So Everyone, are you following along? The only two things that I did was create two variables which were absolutely necessary for me. Cool. Yes, if you're interested in a bit of theory, Craig, I just shared a developer doc link which you can use to understand the activity life cycle. It's very cool. You should absolutely read it because it helps you understand the basics quite a lot. All right, everyone, following along. Is this step clear? So all we did was create two variables here: the running variable and the sensor manager. The sensor manager is the same manager we talked about at the beginning of the session to implement all of these different functions, right? Everyone, comment section. Let me know, type down in the comment section if you are all good here, and I'll move on to the next part. Wow. Cool. I see. All good. Wonderful. Love to see it. All right. Butterly smooth. I mean, this is probably the best comment that I've ever received. It's butterly smooth. Just have a look at this. Great. I'm glad to see that it's all good. Yeti, if you're just opened up, focus on this particular code first, the main activity code, and then you can move on and implement the activity main.xml file. Because in that file, we're just using two text views. You can implement that later. All right. So follow along with us on the activity content file. Cool. You can obviously go back and check on the code later if you want to, but for now, focus on what is happening right now on the screen. All right. So again, we have running ready. We have the sensor manager in place. Now, once we come inside our onCreate function, that is when our application is created, we need to activate our sensor manager. We need to call our sensor manager and get the system service, right? So let's create that. Let's focus on creating that first. So we have our sensor manager, and you remember that we set it to null. We get our sensor manager first, and now we establish it. We initialize it by getting the system service. So we'll activate that system service. So we'll use the function get system service. Let's see if we have that function here. We do. Wonderful. So we get the system service, and for this one, this also requires an argument for which we need the system service. So lucky for us, we already have that system service variable in context. So again, this really comes with looking at a lot of code. Don't worry if you don't understand it in the first bit. Context is basically what defines this entire application, what contains all of it. So as you can see, there are a lot of string variables that we need, and if this system service required a string, we need the sensor service in general. So this is the first thing that we need to do. And you can still see there is still an error. And the reason that there is an error is because it's not typecasted. And in order to do that typecasting in Kotlin, we want to typecast it as sensor manager. That's why we need to initialize this. We just use an as. So as is an alias which we use to define, that this is typecasted as sensor manager. So we get the system service, typecast as sensor manager, and initialize our sensor manager variable. Cool. All right. Simple statement, sensor manager equals to you get the system service, you give the sensor service variable, and then you add it as a sensor manager. Pretty easy, pretty simple. Let's see what we have next. Okay, so we got the sensor manager, we have our running, so that's it. In the create function, we only need this. Now we've implemented all these other functions where we want to add more about, what happens when you resume your application, what happens when you hit pause on your application, what happens when your sensor or your accuracy gets changed. So we're gonna leave the accuracy changed function for now. You can obviously add this, for example, whenever accuracy is changed, whenever your device shifts to a different sensor, for example, that. So you can add changes to it, but for now, we'll just focus on the basics, which means we'll populate the on resume, on pause, and on sensor change function. All right. And the on resume, on pause, and on sensor changed function includes everything that you need to know about, what happens when your device is running and you hit pause. That means your sensor is no longer in use anymore. What happens then? And all of this, right? Cool. So these are the functions that we're going to populate next. Let's focus on them one by one and take it one step at a time. If you have any confusion in the middle of it, let me know, and I'll be happy to take these questions again. All right. Cool. So on resume function. Let's say you resumed your application, which means that you are on the application phase, which means that your application is running, right? So this is the running variable that we maintain to actually see if the application was running or not. Cool. So if your application is running, which means that it's true, you resumed it, the application is running, you actually initialize with a variable. We create a variable to actually get the default sensor value, default sensor that we wanted to. So right now what we need is we have to implement a step counter, right? As you saw that we in the docs, they used accelerometer. For this one, we need the step counter. So let's get that first in the variable, right? So we need the step sensor. So for the step sensor, what we do is we also already created the sensor manager, right? And you remember that we created it as a global variable so that we can access it on different functions and we're not limited by context. So we have our step sensor, we get our sensor manager, and if we find our sensor manager, this question mark is actually essential important, because if your value is null, it will not get access to the function and it'll avoid the null pointer exception, which is absolutely incredible because then your application does not crash. So another amazing, interesting feature of Kotlin, which is why I love it. This question mark basically means that if your sensor manager is null, it will not move forward on the statement to see if it'll implement the function and get access to it. So we get the default sensor, and for this one, the default sensor fence. What's the default sensor that we want? We need the type step counter, right? So let's get access to sensor. We already have our sensors in place. Which sensor is it that we need? We need the type step counter. Let's see if we have the step counter with us. We do. There you go. And now we initialize the variable, we have our step counter in place. Why do we need typecasting? The variable is already of sensor manager class. So the reason that we need typecasting is because the get system service does not return the sensor manager only. We use the sensor service and we ask the system to return a service. There are other services as well. So it's like a general, what do you call it? An umbrella term, whatever it will return. And we need to typecast it into a niche that we're using. So we're using sensor manager, and that is the reason we need to typecast it. Can I push this? Yes, I will. After this session, I will push this code to a repository and you can find it on my GitHub. All right, everyone, on top of things, any other questions? Cool. Why are we using the type step counter? So you have like many sensors in your devices, and you also have many sensors available in your Android application, this Android Studio sensor class. So this sensor class has tons of variables, tons of sensors, and in order to get the sensor that we need, there can be accelerometer. Let me just actually show this to you instead of going through with this. Okay, so let's say we're not creating a step counter. We need to look at all the sensors. So as you can see, you have a step counter, which we're going to use today. You have an accelerometer. You have all sensors if you want to access all the sensors at once. Temperature sensor, the game rotation, the gravity, the gyroscope, geomagnetic rotation. See, there are tons of sensors. You want to measure heartbeat, heart rate, light, linear acceleration. So these are tons of the sensors that you have available. And for this one, we're creating a health app. So we need the sensor one, the step counter. Yes. So we need the type step counter. So I hope this answers your question. That is the reason that we need a type step counter. All right. My GitHub ID is Sasha Kapoor. I mean, I don't think you need the code. It's very simple. If you follow along, you'll all be fine. If there's something that you want me to show it to you again, you can obviously have a look at it. But it's very simple. So generally I will upload it and you can have a look at this if you want. But if you also want, you can just go and back and forth this video to see what was being taught. And at the same time, if you want, you can also, recreate these applications, find these answers online. It's very simple to actually get started with Android. And this is one of the most basic applications. So don't worry about the code on GitHub. You'll get access to the code. The code is not the problem here. You need to understand the basic concept that we are using here in order to build all these applications, right? So if you're getting started with Android, this is the basis, and post which you can always go ahead and try out, something new, add new functionality, and play around with the code a bit. But if you don't understand the code at first, it'll create a lot of problems, because then you will not understand what to make changes, where to make changes. You'll be so confused, and looking at the code, all at once would be overwhelming. So taking it step by step is what helps. Cool. Yes, what is the use of on resume? Good question. On resume basically means that it's another part of your application lifecycle. So your app starts, there's an on start function. Your app is created, context is created. There's your activity creation and on create function. If your application resumes, which means it is somebody closed your app, or let's say paused your application, it's playing in the background, and then it comes back and resumes it once more. Right, so it was created and it was resumed. That's when you use the resume function. So on starting or on resuming, it's basically you can use it both the times. But for now, it's just if you let's say for example you were working, you were accessing between multiple apps, so you just did not close it, but you moved on to a different application in your mobile. The on resume function would be applicated, and when you or the on pause function would be applicable then. And when you come back to your application, the sensor app application, then the on resume function would be called. So all of these functions have their own time at what it is being called. And if you want the theory, it's available on the Android developer docs. You can browse through it and get more information on this one. Cool. All right. So since we are through with this one and we have the type, we have the sensor activity, the SEP sensor activated, let's just add a quick check here because we don't want the SEP sensor to be null either way. So we're going to make a check on this one to see if it is null or not, to see if our sensor is actually present or not, right? Okay, so we have a step sensor and we have established that can be null or it cannot be null. So if you have an if statement, we have an else statement, and then, all right, this is it. So obviously you can add an exception here, you can add another information here, you can ask them to reestablish that, you can let them know whatever it is. I'm just going to go ahead and make a toast here. Toast is basically a small message which pops down on the bottom of the screen, which to tell you that okay, this is like not working for me because your application is not present, or whatever you want me to inform the user that why it is that your application would fail, right? The reason. Basically, let's say they don't have the sensor and they don't know about it and they're using your application. This toast would just let them know that this is not possible, right? Sorry. So it means the context, which is the entire context of the application, your activity, you add it here. And another thing that it needs is a character sequence, and it also needs a duration, right? So the character sequence is basically no sensor, like whatever you want to say, which means like no step counter sensor, right? We don't have the sensor yet. And next one we need is the duration. So we already have some default durations here, which is length, short, or long, which means how long do you want it to be. So let's say we want it to be what do you want it to be? We want it to be that just like a short thing for the length. Let's go for length short, and then after that we're just gonna show. So it's important to implement the show function because only then your text would actually show. You just made a toast and then you are showing your toast. Why we use, can you explain once again? Pranav, which function? On resume, on pause, which one are you referring to? Can you add that in the comment section? I'll answer that. Have you made the same app with Zip? I've not coded in Swift before. Sorry if that's something that you need help with. I can help you out probably, but I'd have to Google it the same way that you would. All right. Cool. Let's just talk about this. So now, if you don't have the step sensor, it'll just refer to that okay, we don't have a step sensor. But if you do have, this is the moment we need to activate that sensor. We need to register that and listen to it. Our application needs to listen to that sensor. For that, we already have a function available. So we get our sensor manager, and then we register the listener. We activate our listener in order for this application to start listening to this sensor, right? So it needs a context. Let's add this, which is, so the reason that I added this in the listener, because it required a sensor event listener at first. Just have a look at this again. What it needs is a sensor event listener. As you can see that I've already, in my application, my main activity, I've already added and implemented sensor event listener, which means that I can use this to actually access the superclass, right? I don't need create an object out of it. I can use this. Okay. So the other thing is we need the step sensor, which is sensor that the variable that we have. We will tell them that okay, you have to register sensor, and that sensor should be of step counter type. Okay. And the other thing that we need would be the sensor manager to give us what else do they need? Let's check. Okay, so they also need a sampling period int, which means that basically sampling period would mean that how much delay you want it to the sensor to be, how often do you want to listen to that sensor. So let's add a delay UI, which means that however long it takes to delay the UI. Let's see, sensor manager, and then we want delay. So there are a lot of delays that you can use. Delay normal, which is like it'll listen at a certain interval. The UI, it'll listen whenever there's a change in the UI. So we'll just use that. You can use any of the others too. Okay, there are a few questions. Let's come back and see first. Okay. Question mark in car declaration. So that's actually a var declaration, and the reason that we use a question mark is because for null safety. Yes. So the question mark would, if there is a null pointer. So if, for example, you have let's say in this one you have a sensor manager dot register listener. Then let's see for a second what happens if we don't use the question mark. As you can see, it'll actually show you an error here, and it'll say that you have to include a question mark replaced with a safe question mark call. And the reason that you need to do that is because Kotlin prevents null pointer exception, which means that if your variable is null, it will not implement the next function that you need for it to do. Yeah, it prevents it from errors and crash apps. Awesome. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? You can't see the step number in the layout though. It's basically if you, so there probably be an overlap, just like we started out, and that overlap would be your steps and your zero would be overlapping a bit. So just move it out, use the design feature if you want to. All right, awesome. Let's see what's next. So again, now we've registered the listener, which means that our sensor manager is activated and it's listening, right? So we did that and it's all set. Now, let's say that your application paused, which means that your application is not running anymore. So running, we set it to false. And in just a minute, you'll understand why this running variable is absolutely important. But for now, just go with it. So we actually set this running as false, which means that if our application is paused, our application is not running. When our application is paused, the onPause function would be called. And if the onPause function is called, we need to set the variable running to false. Pretty simple. Easy peasy. Cool. Now, the other thing that we need here is the sensor manager, right? So the same way that what we did on resume was running was true, and we registered the sensor manager after, of course, getting the default sensor that we wanted, the type step counter. So what we did was overall in the onResume function, we set the running to true and we registered our listener, right? So here we'll just do the opposite. We'll set the running to false and we'll unregister our listener. Unregister the listener. Then again, it requires certain, basically certain variable arguments there. And the argument that is absolutely required is the sentiment listener, which we can already established that we can get from this, because in our main activity we actually implemented the sentiment listener. Can you see this? Because of this reason, we can actually use this variable and just without creating an object, we can work through it. Cool. Awesome. Came back to the comment section. No questions. Awesome. Lovely. Glad that you're understanding it. If you do have any questions, feel free to ask those. And if I'm not looking at it, don't worry. Somebody in the comment section would probably help you out. We have a lovely community of friends here who absolutely love to help. And I am thrilled to see that. All right. Final segment, friends. This is the last section that we are implementing for now. And after that, we'll just do a quick code review to see everything is in place or not. Right? Okay, you have an issue. What's the question? I am back on the comment section. I'll give you a minute break, and everyone else can review the code for a minute to see if they understand it correctly. Let me see if we can increase this for a bit. Yeah. All right. So this is what your code generally looks like. Cool. None of the following functions can be called with the argument supplied. Toast, make, text, context. So basically, when you're making a toast, it needs a context, it needs text, and it also needs the duration. There's three characters which you need to define. And you can see your make test, context, char sequence, and int. This first one is actually defined with the three of these. So if you can probably check the import as well, what is imported there, it should be an Android widget toast, which I think yours should be correct. And when you actually implement your toast like this, it should be fine. Don't just copy and paste the code. What you need to do is type it out. It'll give you an autocorrect option, and also it will also give you an option to use alt enter. I mean, I practically use this alt shift enter thing quite a lot. I mean, I say it's alt and enter. I'm just not sure. It's so mechanical right now. Oh, you're having an issue with the registered listener and unregistered listener. Can you tell me what issue it is? The sensor delay UI is basically how often you want the sensor to listen to it, right? So the delay UI is, however, whenever there's a delay in UI, the UI is not updated, it'll actually check and listen if there is a difference in your steps. Moon, can you let me know what issue it is you have with register and unregistered listener? And Johan, is your code working now? So if step sensor is null, then classifier context does not have a companion object. This must be initialized here. Can you alt and enter on context to see if it is there? So as you can see, let me show you on the code. So when you type it on context, this is the context import that you need. If this is not present, it might show an error. Check your imports, friends. If you're facing such issues, it's probably because your imports are not installed correctly. So if any of these imports are missing, just try it out again. These are the imports that we have up until now. Let me just share that in the comment section with you all. So it's like too big, but I'll still share it anyway. If any of these imports are missing, just add it. I know like it's a big code, but I hope that you get it. All right, so any other query? I mean, I'm trying to find out if there is a comment that I missed out. Alt enter work? Awesome. Lovely. All right. Let's browse through the code real quick a bit so that if anyone missed out on anything, they can just quickly catch up. So the first thing that you did was your imports were correct. Your running was false. Sensor manager is null. Your sensor manager is established as soon as your activity is created, not before that. So that is the reason we set it to null. You understand the meaning of question mark now. You are absolutely pro once you learn Kotlin, and I can see that you all are already pros because you just took an hour session and you already know so much more about Kotlin, right? So then the default center, the type counter, that's what we set. We need a toast. We need to register the sensor, and the on pause function. We need to unregister the listener. Very simple, very easy. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them. I'll do a quick code review once more so that it helps you out. Let's remove this to do, and now we'll work on this. Now, if the sensor changed, right? If there is a change which in the event, so this sensor event is basically a change in that sensor, and whatever change was it, we listened it by the event, right? So it's stored in the event. So the sensor event argument here, basically, if there is any change, then it'll listen to it and it'll store it in the event variable. All right. Yeah. So the reason that you register an unregistered listener, use again alt and enter whatever the error you can see, because then it'll actually show you what import is missing, and it'll import that and it'll be fine. Cool. All right. Okay. Let's see what next. Yeah. So again, you have this event ready. You understand what event means. If not, I'll repeat it. But basically, the event is whenever there's a change in your sensor, whenever it senses something, listens to a change, it'll store that in the event, and you can access it through here. The only place where we have to access it and we have to like update our UI is when the application is absolutely running, right? So all you need to do is you'll set an if running. This is the reason your Boolean variable was important, because if your application is paused, that means we don't have to listen to that change in sensor, right? But if your application is running, then we have to update our steps. This is where we'll update our steps. Now, let's see if we can access steps. No, we can't. All right, no worries. So let's make a variable. Val variable steps. right? So we need to get our steps. Now, if you remember correctly, this is where you update your UI. Update the UI to for basically update the UI to actually show all those changes that happen. So just let it be update the UI, which means that you have the change in steps now with you in the event. You stored in the event, and you need to update the UI. So first, what do you need? You need to get access to the element, right? The element is basically your text view. So you remember we created a text view in your activity underscore main XML file. We created a text view, right? So you have your text view and you want to access that text view and get the update the text there. So we'll use the function find view by ID, and this one should be we'll add an r.id.steps. Let me just add this first and then I'll explain what happened here. So basically, we got that text view from the activity main file into our Kotlin file. And in that, in process of bringing that, what we used is we'll find the view by the ID. So if you remember in the activity main file, we added this ID, steps value. So it was easier for us to access this element and bring it to the Kotlin. So this is the Kotlin file. So this is the code you write when you want to find the view by ID and then bring it back to your Kotlin file. Easy? Questions? Android Studio is taking the time because I'm watching live stream. Slow connection. Don't worry, it'll all be good. What's the difference between val and var? Very good question. So val and var are basically Kotlin variables that you can create. The difference between the two is in val don't have to it's not fixed is what I mean. I mean I can just Google the exact difference to you, but basically in val it's not fixed, and in var I think it's like more of a global fixed variable, if not global but fixed variable if I remember correctly. Let me just Google this difference for you because I want to be very specific for this one. Yeah, so var is like the general variable, can be assigned multiple times, and val is like a constant variable, cannot be assigned multiple times. Cool? The same thing that I just mentioned, but I want to be very specific with the words. So var is cannot be assigned with multiple variables. Okay, that's the difference which we just mentioned. Okay, so you have an error which says constraint left to start or not found. So it's not left to start, probably it's end to start. If you get this error because you're using the wrong attribute, this is not the right attribute. Let me show you the file again. One second. All right. Yeah, back on the application. So it's basically left to left off, right to right off, top to top off, bottom to bottom off. Here we were using top to bottom off, start to end, start off, end to end off. So there's no, this attribute is incorrect that you're using. Left to start. Makes no sense. All right. Moving on. Now, we have the steps with us. So now what we need is just one thing, which is we need to update the steps. So let's see what variables do we have here. Steps. This is like the get text. So we have a steps variable with us. We need to update the text. So we just do a dot text, through which we can access the text that is stored in this variable. So what will do? It will do this. It will update the text view to whatever value that you want it to update to. For example, if I add this to 1, which means that it was earlier 0, and as soon as this function is called, it will update it to 1. But we don't want that. We want the events value, correct? So the events value is events, the event that we have, event dot. Now you can see that there are tons of other things that function variables that you can see. So what we need is the value. So we need the first value that we get, which is the 0th value. As you can see, this is still showing an error because this does not return a string. So either you can use the toString function, or you can use the toString function call, or you can just simply go ahead and do this. Easy. Either way, it should work. Now this event is still showing an error, and can you guess why it's showing an error? Everyone, I think you can guess that. It's pretty easy. Okay, still not. Okay, wait. Counting it with an alt. That was it. All right, I'm going to take questions. Let me come back to the screen and see. Yeah. All right. Hi, Adam. Good morning. Yes, for Java, if you want to update the value, this is like a very important, so I'm going to pin it here. For Java, if you need to update the values, you use steps.set text and you add the value. So for this one, we used a dot text. For the other one, you use a steps.set text and you add a value. Thank you so much. I'm not sure what your name is, but I'm going to use your Twitch name. That's the Noob Mac. Thank you, Noob Mac, for helping out here. All right, wonderful. So I don't see any more questions, which means that you actually created a step counter right about now. Everyone, how hyped up are you? Let me know in the comment section if you still have any more questions. And if you're all good, let me know about it too. Because I want to see if this is absolutely done. And if you have any errors, this is where we're going to debug it together. Generally, I mean, it's not good. It's not the best way to say it, but Alternator literally solves all of your problems in Android Studio. It's the best. Yeah, awesome. All right, everyone. I can see there are a lot of viewers right now, so I want you all to actually rush back to the comment section and let me know if it's all good and you're all set and done with the sensor application. If it's all good, it's all done, let me know. Did we add any code to on pause? Yes, we did. Let me just quickly show what we did there. So when the application paused, like, okay, before I actually show you the code, think about it this way, Johan. So when your application pauses, what you need to do? You need to unregister your listener so that it doesn't drain out the battery. And you need to set the running to false because we're using the running variable in on sensor changed. Correct? Two changes. That is what we're going to do. So the only thing that you need to add in your on pause is set your running to false and this one. Set your running to false and the sensor manager to unregistered listener. All good? All right, everyone, what's up? So come back to the comment section, give me some hype because, oh my goodness, was this a long stream? But I want to know if it's all good. Give me a yay or a thumbs up or an all good in the chat so that I know everyone's following along. Yes, I can explain the event value 0. So basically, whenever your sensor changed, because we were using the sensor event listener, every change is documented as an event, right? And that event is called a sensor event. So this is a variable that we utilized in a sensor event. As an argument, we utilized the event variable and we made it into a sensor event basically. So you can see event colon sensor event question mark. That basically defines your event and captures that, right? So whenever your on sensor change is called, this is the event argument that you'll get. And when you get that, all you need to do is update it. So how you'll update it? It stores a set of values, which is in form of an array. All the values are in the form of an array, and the 0th value is the most recent and the most updated value that you have. So to get that value, you do event.values.0, but again, it's an integer value and we need to update it to a string. So that is why we added that colon in front. You can obviously use a toString. I mean, either way, I'm fine with it. You're fine with it. It's all cool. Awesome. I am super excited to see that all of this is good and it was a fun stream for you all. Great to see that you were able to build this application. Now that your application are ready, all that you need to do is run this application. I mean, I can't show you, like I cannot actually run it for you on this device because I'm not sure if my laptop has that type of sensor. So if I'm just gonna roam around my entire room to actually show you that update in the step counter, it would be a little difficult. But you can obviously try it out, run this application on your own device and try out, move around a little, get healthy, folks. I mean, it was a lockdown. We just came out of a lockdown. None of us has lost the lockdown way, isn't it? So yes, you all have to be very on top of that and try out this application. Again, I want you all to make a submission for this application. And another very important thing before we move on to any more questions, the important thing is that we always show off what we created because we are so proud of what we created and we always show that off. So today we created a health app. Today we completed this entire segment and we did it from scratch. We did it on our own. It was wonderful to be on stream with you all together. And since I can see every one of you got it, I am absolutely proud. I couldn't be more proud of you all. So what you need to do is tweet with @ML hacks, a hashtag local hack day, and don't forget to tag me because I absolutely love reading your comments, love what you learn, and I'm super excited. It makes me Super excited to see what you all created. So make sure that you tweet at Himmelhacks local with the local hashtag local hack day and tag me. All right, a few more questions. If we unregister sensor on pause, will we still able to count steps like we have the phone in the pocket so we can count steps? No, your application should be on. So you'll be holding your phone and you'll be moving around. That is why we added that in on pause. We can't count steps at that point. What you did in XML, I missed it. Uh, all right, so XML, let me just quickly open up that file and show it to you once more. So it's basically two text view layouts which we created. The first one was a label, which is just a heading of steps, and the other one is a zero, another text. So simple to text view, you can obviously change the UI. I used a pretty basic UI for this. Don't be like Sashraka. Be creative with the UI, all right? Don't be like me. Okay, so it's pretty simple. It's just basically two text views to align those positions using constraint layout and work with it. Okay, any other questions? Oh, this is like the sweetest comment ever. Basically all, thank you so much. Okay, you have an error. What's the error? Kotlin not implemented error. Okay, so basically, strange. So basically your main activity, the accuracy changed was not implemented. Let me show you how you can implement it without actually writing so much as a code in it. So basically, you just add this function. Let me add it to the Twitch channel for you. Okay, yeah. So Rahul, I think this might help you. So just add this function to your code and it will work. Cool. Awesome. Cool. Love it. Love to see it. Great. Thank you so much, everyone. All right. So, hey, Rubain, you joined Blahaj gang too. I am so excited to see you there. So, if you know all are not aware about this, I'm a part of Blahaj gang. Rubain is a part of Blahaj gang, and everybody is a part of Blahaj gang. Everybody loves that community. It's a great community if you want to be a part of it. I'm not saying the other communities are not best. Please don't start trolling me in the comment section. I'm saying I love my community. Yes. Already added. Even then you got this other. Add a to implemented function, because if your accuracy change is entirely empty, it'll create an issue. Oh wow, this is absolutely stunning. You should definitely tweet your application because you made your first app. You need all the boost you can get. So everyone, get some hype in the comment section for Pranav because he actually built his first app today, and I can't be more proud. I'm super excited to see that. Thank you so much. Yes, the challenge is not completed yet, friends. For the week-long dev post, what we need to do? You need to make a submission on dev post with your code submission. So upload this on GitHub and make a code submission. Let me share that link with you all so that it's helpful. Okay, how to run the app? Okay, let's first focus on how to run the app, and then we'll focus on how to make a submission. Meanwhile, I want you all to get Pranav some hype in the comment section because he absolutely did an amazing job by creating his first app. So get that support in, friends. Get that support in. Okay, let's see. So as you can see, this run app function, which is basically your app is running right now. Oops, I did run my app, and because I'm also streaming and I'm also using Android Studio, and I just pressed run the application, which means that my application would, oh my goodness, my RAM, I can't even explain what's going to happen next. It might crash, friends. It might crash. Okay, I paused it. Everything's good. But that's what you need to do. You need to press on this run button and it'll build your application and be up and running in no time. All right. Oops. See? Something happened. Something bad happened. Okay, yeah. All right. Oh, Harshit, Aditya, you also created your first app. Kudos to you. Awesome work, friends. Kudos, Pranav. Kudos, Harshit. You also have done an incredible job today with us. Everyone is in the comment section brimming and supporting you. Super amazing to see that. And I'm super proud of you folks. My on resume has an issue. Could you please show it? Yes, of course. 1 second. Let me just quickly. Okay. Yeah, 1 second. Yes. So going back on the application, and oh, it might take a little while. A bit, friends. It's going to hang a bit. Sorry about that. 1 second. Yes, this is the on resume and coming back. Oh, hi Aditya. Welcome. Aditya is one of our MLH coaches and he's up here in the stream. So let's welcome Aditya, friends. Let's welcome Aditya in the chat room. Comment section. Everyone give Aditya a hey, or let's just welcome him. Say, like, give it a shout out. Give a yay. Oh, Ayush also created his first application. I mean, I am so proud of you. There are 3 folks amongst us who actually created their first application. And I hope that you like Android after this. I mean, I fell in love with it. I'm sure that you like it too. Couldn't be installed, parts failed. I'm actually, oh, you just fixed it? Wow, I was just actually looking at the error, but I'm glad you fixed it. Yes, look at us doing things together. Wonderful. Love to see it. Love to see it. That was interesting and amazing. Now let me just quickly share with you add how you can make a submission on the week-long dev post. So you go to local hat day share. That's where I'll find the week-long submission form, the week-long dev post link, and yes, you visit that week-long dev post, and let me share that with you all here. Okay, coming back. There you go. So I'm sharing the week-long dev post link for you all in the comment section. And I want you to all to actually submit the code and earn a point. So you earn 2 points with this session, which is really interesting. The first point is when you actually checked into this event. If you have not already, go do so now. It's happy.ac slash, what was it? I mean, it's my session, I should remember it. Health app, yes. hackp.ac slash health app. All right, so go to hackp.ac slash health app and check in for this event if you haven't already. And then just go to the link that I just shared in the comment section. It's this one, localhackdayshare.devpost.com, and then make a submission for your code. Wonderful. One for quiz as well. Wow, you're earning a lot many points. Awesome. All right. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, all right. So I think that's all for this. That's all the information that we had to give. Don't forget to make a tweet and show off your hacks. Tag me if you've not already done that yet. But I'm super proud of the amazing work that you have done today. And Bryce, I mean, posting GitHub link twice in the comment section would not help you. Sorry, my friend. I understand it one time. I will. The GitHub link is not. So I'll just upload it to my GitHub if you want to refer to it. I'm not going to share the GitHub link right here in the comment section. If you want to view it, you can view it there. But again, you don't need it. I did an entire live stream of an hour and 42 minutes just for you all to help you understand the code. The code is already there. Just review the review the video again if you want to understand something specific. But I'm sure that you learned something new today. I am super glad to see what you all did today and what you all achieved. And I mean, I think that's it for us. We created a health app. Woohoo! Wonderful. Don't forget to tweet. Don't forget to check in. Don't forget to make a submission on Dev Post. And yes, connect with me on LinkedIn if you want to. I think we already shared. And I'm super glad you enjoyed the session. Thank you so much for joining in, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye, friends. I'll see you around on Discord.